Resi 9 is perfect. It just needs one or two more Wolfmen. Whenever people ask me to tell them a bit about myself, the first thing I say is that I've played and completed every single Resident Evil game, even the weird ones. I played them all back when I was 15. At one point, I could complete all of the PS1 games without using saves. It was just the fastest way for me to feel anything back then. And I've stuck with Resident Evil ever since. With 30 years of history behind it, following this series is kind of like following a national sport. Not consistently interesting, but you'll always keep watching because every once in a while, something truly amazing will happen. I'm thinking back to when I first played Resi 7 on release in 2017. I was 17 years old, running it on my first PC, bought a physical copy from EB Games that had to be installed on 3 DVDs. It's restricted in Australia. Can't even buy it over the counter without your parents' consent. Now, if you were a fan at the time, you would know that there was a certain mystique surrounding this game. New engine, first person, stepping away from established lore. After watching those 3 discs install for well over an hour, headphones on, sitting in the dark, I walked through that beautifully swampy path right up to the back door of the guest house and I stared into that darkness and just, I don't know, guy, it's the whole thing. It's the swamp, it's the crows, it's that weird demo. Like, what about PT? What if there's something in here? For just a moment, I did not want to crawl into this hole. For a brief moment, I'd slipped into some sort of divergent timeline wherein Resident Evil could have been written by Stephen King or some shit. For the first time in the series, I truly didn't know what to expect. 7 was the only entry to actually psych me out like this. Chalk it up to great marketing. Capcom capitalizing on Konami's failure. I already mentioned the new engine and the then strange decision to switch to first person. Pretty quickly, that facade of like elevated horror was broken, as when Ethan turned on his flashlight, I saw I was standing in the same corridor from the demo. This game is actually full of green herbs, collecting strange keys, chainsaw duels, and a boss with glowing eyeball weak points. It was classic Resident Evil all along. Jump forward 9 years and now I'm playing Resi 9 in the dark with headphones. I'm faced with another slow walk into a most likely haunted residence, though the emotions I'm feeling are polar opposites to those felt back in 2017. I know this game will be classic Resi. I cannot wait to crawl into this hole. It feels so cozy, like coming home. It's the look of a Resident Evil mansion, the quiet, the stillness. More than anything, I'd call these locations peaceful or beautiful. When there's no enemies around, of course. It's like that feeling of being on a camping trip late at night and leaving the tent to go take a piss off in the woods. Or being at a train station late at night and stepping away from the platform to go and take a piss in the woods. There's a word for this. I think we call it a liminal space. I think everyone is aware at this point that once you finish your first couple Resident Evil games, they go from being tense and scary to somehow becoming your happy place, which is where I've lived with them since I was 15. In terms of the general aesthetic, Resi 9 is very much the same vibe we're used to. You're dealing with your standard zombies, your tyrant, your zombie dogs, the lickers, Plant 42, chainsaws, weird keys and cranks of every shape. Pretty much every series staple is here, all bought and paid for. For me personally, this is all I need Resident Evil to be. Although, I keep thinking back to that one moment back in 2017, brushing up against a genuine unknown. Here's a little side story for you. I think you might enjoy it. I'm gonna ask you a question and I'll give you a minute to think about it. When was the last time you saw a horror movie without knowing beforehand that it was going to be a horror movie? The fact that you can't immediately think of an answer is in itself a bit of a shame. Generally, you've already seen the trailer, or a friend has already given away key details when they recommend it. Or at least you can see the genre that Netflix has categorized it. when you first click on the film. Earlier this year, my girlfriend saw a clip come up in her feed featuring Hugh Grant talking about Monopoly, which she thought was kind of charming. And that was the push she needed to put the film on while we were enjoying lunch. Released in 2024, this is a film called Heretic. During the first 15 minutes, I had made up my mind it was some sort of offbeat comedy. The dialogue had a sort of awkward humor to it, and it was a little offbeat. As the film progressed, I felt, for possibly the first time in memory, the slow, creeping realization. Yeah, hold on a second, what the fuck is happening here? I was sure these girls would be leaving the house soon. As anyone who has had the privilege of seeing the trailer or reading the synopsis would tell you, these girls do not leave the house. That initial feeling when I realized that this was in fact a horror movie, that's the same brushing up against the unknown feeling. It doesn't last long. Surprises can still come after you learn it's a horror movie. You don't know the full extent of the horror after all, but nothing can compare to that initial realization. The genuine, wait, am I actually in danger feeling. Horror movie protagonists are always designed to be relatable to the viewer, but we know they're in a horror movie and they do not. So my view is that your first couple of Resident Evil games can be classified as horror, but by the time you are on your 19th, well, it's my happy place. No matter how many times my hatchet breaks, I expect it can always be sharpened. Even if I unload every bullet into a brick wall, I can still no damage perfect parry my way through every obstacle in my face. And if I fail, I'll just watch Leon die again. All part of the fun. Leon unleashes a raging torrent of pent-up steel and aggression upon the defenseless and already dead dwellers of whatever hospital or ghost house the ghouls are currently hiding in. Someone at Capcom had been playing Resident Evil 6 lately on professional mode and enjoyed it. Now, how about that raging torrent? Have you ever looked at a zombie and wondered if you could take it in a one-on-one? Judging by the way this guy stumbles and the amount of flesh he's missing, you'd assume he'd be a pushover. I could take him on the same way a Silent Hill protag would just bash him with a stick, you know? But then he grabs you with superhuman strength and you're instantly dead. You shoot him and he doesn't even flinch. How much muscle density does this corpse have? What sort of bulletproof flesh is he made from? A speeding bullet from my handgun to the head will do nothing. It carries less force than this hatchet that detonates the entire skull. This gun creates less destructive force than Leon's twist kick, which carries the same head-exploding velocity as his rifle does from 15 meters. That being said, if I just looked at this guy in the corridor, I'd probably try to fight him. I'd say, yeah, it'd be worth a shot in a one-on-one. I'll tell you what monster I would not want to touch with a barge pole. It's Resident Evil 8's Wolfman. Maybe you don't care so much in-game because you blow them away so often, but I look at this fiend in the model viewer and my monkey brain triggers some sort of primal fear response. Now, old mate looks like a corpse, but this thing looks like a predator and he is ripped. Look at those pecs, he could fold me like a lawn chair. I'm surprised he is so easy to blow away. Sometimes you've got to take a look at Resident Evil 8 and just stare in wonder. I might have mentioned earlier that I kind of like the Resident Evil aesthetic, and it's definitely one of my favorite aspects of the series, but after 30 years, yeah, no surprise things will start to repeat themselves generally. But not Village. In Resi 8, everything was new and exciting. The setting of the snowy European mountains, and the monster designs. Resi 8 has so many unique monster designs, it makes the rest of the series look like it's holding back. I could mention the werewolves, the vampire that's also a dragon, her teleporting daughters made out of flies, the fishman, the dolls, the baby, the cyborg, the witch, the plane engine. Now, back to Resi 9. I'm always gonna view the new game on its own terms and not compare it to previous entries. I wouldn't do that. Someone else can make a video dunking on Resi 9 for how it only really has one new monster design we haven't seen anywhere else in the series. I can still give it a 10 out of 10. I know that Resident Evil will keep mutating for many years to come, and I'll always play every new entry day one. Here we are, still living in the same hole we've spent 30 years in. The feelings of wonder and mystery have dimmed just a little, but even that has its benefits. When you get too comfortable in the dark, you let your guard down. Stumbling around here for 30 plus years, sooner or later you're going to unearth something seriously strange.